off. We'll let people in the room as they arrive. So I have the privilege of introducing you to Lerato Thabede today. And she's going to be talking about her journey to becoming a supply chain management professional. A brief bio on Lerato is that she is a managing consultant for logistics and supply chain management at BBO PEX Solutions. I hope I got that naming correct there. Otherwise, I'm going to feel some pain afterwards. A SAPICS authorized education partner and business improvement consulting firm in South Africa. Lerato is also a qualified APEX CPM, a passionate and experienced supply chain practitioner. She's going to share with you inspiring and new supply chain professionals, stories and tips on her journey to where she is today and why she believes supply chain management is a profession to work in. Be sure to be prepared to ask questions and engage with this dynamic and inspiring practitioner who is a valued and active member of the supply chain community. I can attest that Lerato is a dynamic, energetic, full of beans, passionate. I call her a Duracell bunny on steroids because she keeps us on our toes on some of the projects that we're working with her on. So I have no doubt you are going to thoroughly enjoy the session. Please, if you've got questions, either pop them in the chat or put up your hand and we can talk to them later on in the session. So Lerato, without further ado, take it away for us.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. SAPICS, thank you for the opportunity to come through and share my story. I talk, so I'm going to be talking a lot, but feel free to pop the questions into the chat. And my hope is that this session will inspire you. So whether you're a student who is interested in supply chain or already studying supply chain or working in supply chain, I hope my story will give you some interest and some encouragement as to why to weather the storm and continue with this supply chain journey. There's a wise person who always reminds me that it's not always about the destination, but about enjoying the journey to the destination. So I'm going to start with my journey. So I'm going to be taking you through this little girl. So how I moved from being this little baby girl, look at how beautiful I am, to this young professional woman. And my story is very simple. I was born on the 24th of February in 1988 in Soweto, Mfulo. And I went to primary school Msebeni, which was also Mfula in Soweto. And it was a period when we had riots, and it was just before we got, you know, our democratic freedom. And my grandmother was not very happy and thought, you know what, this is not safe. I don't want my granddaughter to be in this space. So she moved me to Fortsville Primary School. And that's when I fell in love with the library, and I fell in love with books and reading, because I would be with her and we'd leave home at 4 a.m. in the morning and literally come back at 7 p.m. at night. And between that space of after school and going home, I would spend my life in the library, and I would be reading and getting in as much information as I can. And then it was time for high school, and I decided to go to Melbourne High School, and I became very active in school. I was in debating, I was in the Student Representative Council, and I was just in almost every committee that I can get myself into. I was very inquisitive, and I still am very inquisitive, and I still am a Duracell bunny. I've got all the energy in the world. But when I was in high school, I had decided that, what am I going to study? I mean, that's the big question. I'm in grade 11 now. I need to start thinking about university. So what's next for me? And the big question was, what am I going to study? So what to study? But I wanted to be a doctor. In my mind, I was going to be a pediatrician, a psychiatrist, and a physiotherapist. I was going to be all three of those things. You see, I've always had big dreams. But then I realized that actually, that's not really what I wanted to do. So my mom and I devised a plan, and we said we are going to study IT. And the reason I was going to study IT is because my uncle worked in IT and he had a good job and he was doing well. And that would meant IT paid and I would make money and he'd help me get a job. So I had my life all figured out. But while I was in high school, at middle school, a lady came through to school to come and help us identify, what we can do with ourselves after high school. How to apply for jobs, how to get our CVs right, how to apply for university. And me being me, the very bubbly person that I am, and I want you to remember the word bubbly because it is something that is going to come back later on. So being very bubbly, I was asking questions. My hands were up and I was asking about this and I was asking about that. And I must have really impressed that lady and not irritated her because she went to the principal and asked if she could talk to that young bubbly girl that was sitting in front. And I always sat in front. So she offered me a job at her company to come through and work for vacations. And well, the next step was to convince my mother, Mom, can I please go and do VAC work? Because my mom believed no working until you're done with school. And then she was like, okay, fine, because it's just VAC work. You'll do it in November after exams. And I went and I was introduced to a world of engineering. And I was like, what? There's engineering, there's electrical, there's mechanical, but there's explosives engineering. So I want to be an engineer. And that was my next focus. I was going to be the next best engineer. But then I went and I registered. I had already applied for IT at UJ. And I went to register and I changed my registration and I decided I was going to move away from being an IT specialist to an engineer. And I registered and first year came and it didn't go as well as I thought it would be. But I thought I'm going to stick it through and I decided to do my second year. And in second year, engineering showed me flames. I could not take it. So I dropped out, but not only because of me not being able to take it, because I also had my grandmother passing away, who I was very close with, which then became a circumstance which led to depression and things like that, which really clouded me and really held me down. So I decided I was going to take a break. I took a break and I sat at home and I was at home for a few months until I got myself back together and decided I need to go back to work. So I called up the company and I said, is there anything available for me? Do you have a job that I might just come in and do? I'm willing to take anything at this point. And they said, lucky enough, come in for 2 weeks. We need somebody in the admin and finance department. So I went and I worked in the admin and the finance department and I was capturing invoices and making payments and filing. And I thought, oh, okay, this seems sweet. And, chartered accountants, they make money, don't they? And I like money. I mean, who doesn't? But I really like money. But chartered accountants really make money. So why not just go and study accounting? So I applied for accounting and I got in and I studied accounting. But my accounting journey, just like my engineering journey, came to an end within 6 months. I was done with accounting. I was then given an opportunity while I was sitting and working with the company to assist one of the ladies. So if you want to ask me, where did my supply chain career start? It all started with a magazine. And when she said to me, come and help me in the magazines, I thought, yes, I'm going to work for Cosmo, or I'm going to be working for 17 magazine. I didn't think she literally meant a magazine. To give you context, a magazine is a warehouse where explosives are kept. So you can see me there in my gear getting ready. But my first job in supply chain was not as glamorous as people would like to think, or even I thought it would have been. I was labeling boxes. So these boxes that you see here, this detonator box, I would be labeling it. I would put labels on the boxes. I would be moving the boxes. I'll be putting them nicely onto pallets to get them ready for shipping. But I did that with such pride because in my mind, I knew that if that label is done correctly, it's going to get from where I am to its customer or to the end customer and do the job that it's supposed to do. And I did it with dedication. I did it with motivation, and I didn't feel as if I'm doing meander work or I'm doing work that I'm not worth. And that opened up so many opportunities for me, because the lady who had asked me to come and assist saw that dedication and saw that motivation and commitment, and offered me a job and said, come and work with me in the logistics department. I'm looking for someone to do exports. So there I went. I took it on, head on. What a challenge. And I decided, I am going to do this. I am going to go and study logistics, because this just seems so interesting. So there I was, a young, probably around 19 at that time, around 19, 20, around that age, and I was going to work and study logistics. And this is when that world started opening up for me. I then started understanding what logistics is, but even back then it was still logistics and not supply chain. So how did I end up falling in love with supply chain? I'm going to tell you why I love supply chain, and I've got a very long list of why I love supply chain. One, supply chain is the heartbeat of this world. It is the heartbeat that makes sure, that serves everybody and ensures that everything keeps running. In supply chain, we make things happen. And COVID-19 has shown us how essential we are. I mean, from the demand planner who's trying to get an accurate forecast, to the supply planner who's doing the balancing act between demand and supply, to a materials planner who makes sure that the materials are ordered and arrive, to the production planner who ensures that production is scheduled correctly and on time and make sure that the efficiency of the plant is up to scratch, to the warehouse operator who's ensuring inventory accuracy, and the distribution manager who ensures that the goods get out to the customer on time in full, and the customer services consultant who is making sure the customer smiles and gets what they want, to the merchandiser who always makes sure that our shelves are full, and the supply chain managers who put it all together. As supply chain, we make the earth spin, and we are supply chain professionals, and our work is, in my mind, the most important thing that we do. We make the world revolve. Can I get a clap for that? Yay! So my path and roles in the career, I started out as an administrator at DECnet, doing the odd work, doing filing, packing boxes, and getting things, small things done. You know, the little work that nobody wants to do. I was never beneath anything, and I was always ready to take up a challenge. That opened me up to being an exports logistics coordinator, where I then got exposed to the world of exports, of imports and exports, to globalization and how it works. I ended up learning how just one document can stop a whole shipment, which will stop a whole blast in the other side of the world if it's not done correctly. And that's where the attention to detail comes from. I learned that as a supply chain professional, you are important regardless of where you are in the chain. I went on after DECnet when I felt that I had learned as much as I can. I had reached my ceiling. I couldn't learn any further. And to my previous boss's credit at DECnet is he tried to give me as many projects as possible, but I had reached my ceiling and it was time for something new. So I went to our sister company, AEL, and I became a distribution admin controller. And from there, that's when I learned management and supervising people and how to get things done and to put reports together and projects and working in multifunctional teams. I got exposed to that at AEL as a distribution admin controller. But not only did I get exposure, I put systems in place, and systems that to date are still there and are working. Yay me. And from there, I was learning. And after about a year or two, I got a promotion to become the warehousing and distribution manager at AEL, and that exposed me to even more and opened up even more doors for me. The one thing that I had always known is that there is no there's no issue with learning. There's no problem with learning, and there's no problem with knocking at every department to try and understand what it is that they do and how it fits into what you do. See, in a supply chain, what happens in the top can affect what happens in the bottom, and vice versa. The professionals will call it the bullwhip effect. But either way, whatever happens in a supply function, if a supply planner decides to plan more than the capacity of the warehouse, it has a direct effect on the warehouse. And therefore, the multifunctional ways that supply chain works was something that I learned and was able to apply across my career and in anything that I do. I left AL also feeling that I had reached my ceiling. I had worked myself out of a job. I literally had done everything that I could do. And the next best thing was to wait for my boss to leave or disappear. So I left and I went to Element 6. And I got to Element 6 and I had a blank canvas. I was so excited because there was an opportunity for me to put in new systems in place and develop my own systems and put in my own processes. And from there, I put in systems, I put in processes. There is a system that I'm still part of, 2 of them actually, a cycle counting system that I implemented that is still running, as well as a new warehouse that I developed that is still there at Element 6, which makes me really happy. And then I went on and I had an opportunity to merge with another department and became the materials and distribution manager. That opened me up to materials planning and everything else that is involved. Now, getting in there, getting my hands dirty has always been something that I do throughout my career, throughout my paths, throughout my roles, wherever I've been. I make sure that I get my hands dirty. Now, to you young people that are going to be getting out of varsity or technicon, when you start a role, a new role or a new function, always try and get your hands as dirty as possible. Never be beneath doing something. It is the way that you are going to learn. Yes, you are qualified, but you need that experience. So go in there, get your hands dirty. If you need to find out what it's like to pack a shelf, go and pack a shelf so that you can understand what it's all about. If you need to understand what cycle counting is about, go and physically go and do a cycle count. Even if you come in there as a demand planner, put your shoes on, put your safety shoes on, put your jacket on, and go to the ground and see what is happening on the ground. It gives you so much clarity as to what is happening on the ground and what needs to happen for you to push it forward. And it gets you so involved with the team. So that is just my recommendation. But also, while I was there, I was having fun and winning awards and getting things done. So these are some of the teams that I've worked with and some of the awards that we've won, and we've done amazing work. I will say throughout my career, we've done amazing work with my teams. There's one thing that I've learned is that teamwork makes the dream work. But I've also learned that a team won't function if the leader is not a team player. And I've learned that as a manager, I need to treat people the same way that I would like to be treated and give people the same opportunities that I would love to have been given. So in the same way that my managers were able to delegate work to me, I was able to delegate work to my employees or my subordinates. And what that did was build a culture within them, a culture of trust. We could trust each other. And they knew that the more tasks I give to them, the more I trust them and the more confidence I build in them. And the less questions and the less nagging I would receive because they knew that I trusted them. And that's why we were able to sweep the awards and get in a lot of awards, but we also had fun with my teams. So not everything goes as smooth as we'd like to think. I also had challenges. So one of my challenges was that I didn't have an academic qualification. So even though I had the experience, I didn't have my degree. It took me six years or so to actually complete my degree. And therefore, I want to encourage you, it's not about the race. It's not about getting your your degree faster than anybody else or finishing it within 3 years. You learn along the way, you do what you can. And for me, it became a challenge because when it came to get promotions, I would be told, but, oh yes, you've got the experience, but you don't have the qualification. Or when I applied for jobs outside, I'd be told, oh yes, you do have the experience, you don't have that academic qualification. But it pushed me to get it, and I didn't give up because I knew that I needed it. But not only did I need it, I wanted it. And the reason why is because it's always important to understand that with academic and practice work together. What we learn in theory, we can apply on the floor. And what we learn on the floor, we can apply in theory. It just helps it to make it gel and make it work for you. It helps you think. It challenges you on your thinking. So I would encourage you to go and get your academic qualification and complete it. There's no rush, but work with timing that works for you. Another challenge that I had was bosses. This was a really difficult one because a good boss can either break a team or make a team. And I've had opportunities to work with really great bosses or really great managers that were encouraging and supportive and were trusting and instilled confidence in you. But I've also worked with people who, for me, were not really good bosses. They would do anything they can to break your spirit and to break the team. And what I did in that position, when I had a point where I just wanted to quit. I just didn't want to do anything because I don't want to wake up in the morning and go and face this boss. But I looked at myself and I said, Lerato, what is your goal? And what is it about what is happening that you can't handle? And I wrote it down. And I encouraged myself to get a mentor that I would speak to about these challenges. And they helped me to try and address the problem. So to speak to the manager and try and make them see my point of view, but also to understand their point of view and where they are coming from. And also I learned along my journey of self-discovery that it's a person does not have a bad intention with their behavior. They don't intentionally want to hurt you. It's things that are beyond their control as well. So I've learned to look at myself and to say, okay, so this is happening to me. How can I turn it around? And what else can I do as Lerato? What can Lerato do to make the situation more bearable or better for her? Another challenge that I had was being told, oh, but you're so young. I'm 32 years old right now. And when I first got a management position, I was 25. But I was told, you're so young, you're not ready. But I had the experience and I had the qualification. And that for me just made it so difficult to try and understand and pave my way and move forward into, and pave my way into the world, into the management world. But I never let it get to me. I went and I proved that I was ready. My work proved for myself that I was ready. And that's what you need to do as a young person. Yes, you will be told that you're young and you're not ready, but let your work talk for yourself. Let your work show your dedication and your commitment. And another challenge I had was working with older people and also working with younger people. Working with older people, in my background, my culture that I come from, I'm Zulu, so you need to be very respectful to older people, which being a manager at a very young age was very difficult. How do I now tell that they Vusi to get something done? You know, how do I give him that Vusi an instruction? So that is one thing I had to learn to navigate. I had to learn to say there's work and there is outside of work. And yes, I will be respectful at work, but I will be direct and I will give you instruction and we will work together to get that instruction. I am not going to come across as in your face and you're going to do what I say and I'm the boss and that's what I say. I'll be respectful in the way that I deliver my instruction, but I will be firm regardless of how much older you are than me. And that really worked for me because I developed really good relationships with the older people that I worked with. showing them little signs of respect. Yes, I wouldn't call them by name, and I still battle to call older people by name. I would still add in that in Tate, I'd still add in that Baba and Bani, but I would learn to be firm with that as well. But then the challenge came in with the younger people as they come in. Young people are energetic just as I am, and they question everything. And therefore, I had to learn to give the answers. Older people don't question as much as younger people, but younger people want to know the why. And as you've seen, my little son was busy running around. If I had said to him, stop, he'd ask me why, because they want to know. So I had to learn that younger people have got a tenacity to ask questions, and you need to be able to provide them with those answers or give them direction of how to get those answers. And then I am very petite, I'm very small. And at some point I was addressing one of our suppliers, and they came through and I was being very firm and direct because I had expected a shipment to arrive at a particular time and it hadn't arrived, and it jeopardized my shipment with my client. So I was being extremely direct. The lady eventually met me and she said to me, oh my word, is that you? You look so small, but you talk so big. And that kind of killed my confidence because I thought, oh, people are not going to take me seriously because I'm so small. But then I realized that it's not about my body. It's not about the size of my body. It's not about what I look like. It's about the content of what I say, the context, how I say it, and what I mean. So I learned that my body had nothing to do with how I deal and direct issues. And then this one really killed me, where I was told being bubbly is a problem. So there was an opportunity for me to get a promotion, and I was told, we're not really sure you can handle this promotion because, I mean, you're just so bubbly. We don't know whether you'll be able to relate throughout the management levels. It killed me because on the one hand, if you remember earlier, I mentioned that because of my bubbly personality, I got my first opportunity. But now I'm being told that you are being too bubbly, that means you won't get a opportunity. That killed my spirit. And I had an inner conflict where I was fighting with myself, and I was trying to understand, is it really a problem? Do I need to kill that bubbly personality? Do I need to be more quiet? Do I need to be more humble and reserved? And as much as I tried, there was just no way it was ever going to happen. I tried to be reserved. I tried to be quiet. But as soon as I walk into the office, it's, hi, everybody, because that was just my personality. I had to learn to accept my personality. I had to learn to accept who I am, because my bubbliness did not define my work. I was producing the results, I had the KPIs, I was meeting the targets, and therefore I had to just accept that I am who I am. And people will also have to learn to accept that. And I was able to interact throughout all areas of management, because I would be able to sit and be called into senior management meetings. I'd be sitting with middle managers as a middle manager, but I'd also be with the junior managers and the operators. So my personality had nothing to do with my skills. And then the one that is, I feel impacts a lot of us, especially young people, is that we have this belief that we are not good enough, or that we are not worthy, or we don't deserve it. That is not true. We work hard, we put in our hours, we put in our dedication, and whatever we want, we deserve to have it. We are good enough to get what we need, and that is something that we need to learn, and that is a challenge that creeps up every now and then, but I come back and I remind myself that, Lerato, you are good enough. Lerato, you can do this. Lerato, stop criticizing yourself. You can do this. You're amazing. And that's the voice that we need to channel in ourselves. But I've also learned quite a lot of things. Here's what I've learned. I've learned to be hungry, and I've learned to be open to learn. I learned that as I was hungry for information, and I was hunting like a lion to get that information and to get it inside of me, it really opened a lot of doors for me, and it opened my mind. And the more I was willing to learn, the more information I got. I started reading journals. I started reading supply chain related books to get myself full, to fill myself up with that hunger that I had. So be hungry and be open to learn. And there's nothing wrong with hard work. I hear they say, oh no, you don't have to work hard. You just need to work smart. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with hard work. You just also need to work smart too. I'll give you an example. When I had my first opportunity, I was labeling boxes, and I was working really fast, working hard. And then I thought, wait, there's a systematic way that I can do this. So I decided to do the systematic way, which was working smart. But I also increased my pace and pushed myself to work even harder. So there is nothing wrong with hard work. You just mix the two, get a nice balance between hard work and working smart. And always ask yourself, look in the mirror and ask yourself, what can you do better? Lerato, what can I do better? Lerato, this is what I've accomplished. So what more can you do? Could you have done this better? Is there anything else that you can do that could make it better? Always question yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't criticize yourself, but question yourself and look at ways that you can improve. Continuous improvement is what we need to be about as individuals and as young people. Always treat people with respect and courtesy, no matter what level they're in. So that merchandiser that is making sure that your shelves are packed at ShopRite, who puts the baked beans in the shelves for you, they deserve the same respect as the CEO of ShopRite, because people are people and we need to show them respect and courtesy no matter what. It's reflective of yourself and how much you respect yourself when you apply the same respect to people. And I've also learned that it's okay to be emotional. It's not a weakness. You just need to breathe. So what I would do if I know I was going to get into an upsetting meeting where we were going to be having conflict, I would bank my breathing. I would breathe, and then get into the meeting. And I'd be so calm in the meeting. And then after that meeting, I'd go out and breathe. It's okay to be emotional. We are human beings. We have emotions. We're not robots. And it doesn't mean that you're weak if you're emotional. Just learn to breathe and learn to take and think it through. Also, failure shows you a different way to do it. You haven't failed, you've just learned what not to do, and you will find another way to do it. So don't be scared of failure. Don't beat yourself up for failing. If I had beat myself up for failing, I wouldn't be where I am today. If I had said, Lerato, you failed engineering, you are useless, then I wouldn't have been where I am. God knows where I would have been, because I probably would be sulking somewhere. So failure is just teaches you a different way to do it. I've also learned to never give up. Fight for what you want. Push for what you want. Never ever give up. It's never okay to just say, that's it, it's not going to work. But it's okay to do something else. So if the first thing is not working, then it's okay to do something else. So you just moving to the next best thing that will work for you. I say this, don't be too hard on yourself. I still find it that I'm sometimes very hard on myself. Sometimes get to be a bit more of a, a perfectionist. But I've learned to let that go and calm myself down and appreciate and accept the good things that I do. Appreciate who I am and appreciate what I've been able to do. And young people, you are not alone. Even working people, you're not alone. I encourage you to find a mentor, find a peer coach. And if you can afford to get a coach, get yourself a coach. Get somebody who's going to help you to hold yourself accountable. Somebody who's going to help you to plan and to work on your dreams. And somebody you can bounce ideas off. So you don't have to do this alone. Just get somebody who will be there with you. And lastly, make the sacrifices that you have to do. So you see my little baby over there. He was one of the people that had to sacrifice the most, because while he'd be there, mommy would have to study. And this particular occasion, he decided that he was going to study too. I had stood up to go to the bathroom, and when I came back, he was wearing my glasses and studying for me. So If you have to make sacrifices, make the sacrifices. They'll be worth it at the end of the day. And your circumstances, they don't define you. Where you come from doesn't define you. My mom was 15 when she gave birth to me. That didn't define her, and it wasn't going to define me either. Don't let your circumstances control you. Don't let them blind you. Don't be blinded by your current circumstance. Look forward to the future. Open your blinkers. And also, don't use them as an excuse. Use them as an opportunity. And when you do get opportunities, seize them. Set goals. So once you've done your goal mapping and you know what you want, set your goals, because they will help you define your opportunities and they will help you see your opportunities. And give opportunities to others. Don't hog. I've learned this by delegating. At first, I used to think, oh no, nobody does it better than me, so I would do it. But then once I started delegating, I gave people opportunities for them to grow and for them to show me that they can do more. So don't hog opportunities, give opportunities to others. Let's share as much as we can. So where am I now? I am finally got my BCom honors in logistics, which I'm very proud of. I am certified in production and inventory management. I am also a ACM SAPICS recognized instructor. But I followed my passion, where I am now at a place where I want people to understand what supply chain is and why supply chain is so important. I am passionate about South Africa. I need South Africa to grow. We all need South Africa to grow. And one of the ways that South Africa can grow is if we get small businesses to be sustainable and to grow and to get more revenue, make more money, and start hiring more people. So I'm passionate about getting SMMEs to utilize the tools and techniques that supply chain have got to offer and help them to strengthen their operational excellence. And I'm also passionate about training people and developing people in supply chain. So that is me. That's Lerato. I hope I didn't talk your ears off. Okay, and then just, I don't know what happened there on my screen. Technology. So just the last few things, I want to say thank you to everybody for coming through and listening. I've left a lot of time so we can have some questions, and I've just got 3 quotes. Life has 2 rules: don't quit and don't forget not to quit, and don't dim your light, keep your light shining. And remember that we are supply chain, and we as supply chain professionals keep the world running. And one day you can have a forklift with your name on it as well. Thank you, everybody. I'll open up for questions.
Wow. If everybody in this session was not truly inspired and motivated by that session, I will be shocked and horrified. Lerato, that was incredible. It was motivating. It was inspiring. It was, I am absolutely amazed at what an awesome young professional you are. You have given your career consideration from every angle. The way you treat your elders, to the way you treat everybody that you deal with, regardless of the level, your mature outlook on how you deal with situations, accepting that emotions are normal, and that we all have to deal with them, but it's how you deal with them and how you control them, looking after people that you work with, giving them an opportunity, delegating and getting people to grow in their roles. It's just absolutely unbelievable. So we can be very proud to have people like Lerato in our supply chain community. And we hope that there will be lots more of these Leratos around in the future. Yeah. There are some questions that have come through, Lerato, so I'll put the ones out to you that are in the chat so far. Where's that one? What do you recommend as a starting point for academic achievement?
Planning. I know it sounds simple, but planning and knowing what, first I would say, you need to define what your academic achievement is. So what is academic achievement to you? For me, academic achievement would have just been obtaining my degree, for example. But once I've defined it for myself, I knew what my academic achievement would be, and I'd put it as a goal and set a plan for it. And that's how you work towards getting that academic achievement. But you need to know what it is first.
Okay. Does that answer the question? I think that was posted by Cheryl. Another question here. Please tell us more about your CPIM experience.
Wow, guys, CPIM is probably one of the best things that have ever happened to me. So yes, I've got a BCom honors in logistics, but when I did CPIM, initially I just thought, oh, you know what, whatever, I'm just going to do this thing. But I did the first module, and I did it way back in the day when we still had 5 modules. And I did basics of supply chain, and I thought, what is this? Wow, this is mind-blowing. It gave me a more into-depth look on actually what supply chain was about. And from there, I realized that, you know what, without that foundation, I mean, what we study in university, I'm not saying it's bad, it's good. But the foundation that the CPIM had set for me, from basics of supply chain to strategic management of resources, to detailed scheduling and planning, execution and control, master planning of resources, all those modules got me more into detail. And I then understood, because initially I was going to do a CSCP, and my mentor at that time said to me, Lerato, do a CPIM first. And I did a CPIM, and that's when I understood that it doesn't give you an overview of what is happening in supply chain. It gives you a firm foundation and an understanding of each and every single function that happens. So I would recommend a CPIM to everybody. It wasn't easy. Like I said, I wrote 5 exams instead of 2. So you guys are lucky now, you only get to write 2. And it did take me about a year or so. I think it took me about a year because I was pushing. I really wanted to get the designation as fast as possible. And it meant working really hard and putting a lot of time apart for me to study. I hope that answers the question.
I think that was a really good explanation for that question. Another one, do you mind sharing 2 or 3 books you've read that have helped you develop your career?
Supply Chain Excellence by Peter Bolshoff. Okay, that was the one. I will tell you that book just really, it makes you understand supply chain in detail. Another one that I really enjoyed was a management book. I'm trying to think of the name now. It's just slipped my mind. My bookshelf is over there. Okay, I don't recall it. And then one that I really enjoyed was Best Practice in Inventory Management as well. So even though it focused on inventory management, it just took you through how the whole process works. So I really enjoyed those books. But I do recommend you read Supply Chain Excellence.
Okay. Another one here. I'd like to ask where you did your degrees.
I did my degrees with UNISA, the University of South Africa, via distance learning.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
I was working, Tonya. I was working full time.
But I said you
I had to find something. And to be quite honest, there was no other university that was actually offering logistics or supply chain at the time. This was back in 2008. 2008, yeah. In 2008, UNISA was actually one of the first universities to actually offer, not even supply chain, but BCom logistics.
Okay. Any other questions? While you've got Lerato on the spot, she's going to give you a clear guideline here on how to grow into a supply chain professional. Where would you recommend starting your business immediately after completing your studies? I'm presuming this business.
That's a good question. I personally didn't. The reason is because I wanted to gain corporate experience. I wanted to be able to come in with that corporate experience and to have been able to practically apply the theory that I had learned in varsity. So a personal recommendation for me would be to get at least a year or two practical hands-on experience so that you'd be able to then manage your business in those terms. But that doesn't stop you from having your business on the side or starting to develop your business on the side after completing your studies.
Okay, perfect. I think that answers that one well. Okay, so good afternoon, Lerato. Firstly, I'd like to say well done on your accomplishments. For 5 years, I've been working on an ISO management system and supply chain management systems prior to studying at the University of Pretoria. My question is, how would you deal with a situation as a young person with systems that have been in place for 25 years and older, and people, especially operators, who are completely resistant to change? I think that's a really good question. I think it's a challenge that many people face.
And that challenge I have faced myself. And there's many ways to tackle it. And I'll tell you, a lot of them didn't work for me. I would come in, they'll say, get the people involved, and then they will be acceptive to change. Or they will come in and say, just tell them what to do, and then they just have to do it. Or another one that I used to like is just fire one person and then everybody else will fall in line. But those things didn't really work for me. But what I did, especially when it came to new systems that people didn't understand, because the resistance usually comes from people not understanding what the system is meant to do. And for older people, that resistance also stems from a fear of losing their jobs, because there's this fear that technology is going to come in and take over and I'm going to lose my job. So I would engage people one-to-one, and you look for those, the leaders, the ones that everybody follows, the one that everybody talks to, and the one who's more resistant. And I would go and I would talk to them specifically. And I wouldn't start with telling them about the project or what's happening. I'd start to get into their heart. So I want them to, and I'm not saying manipulate people, please get me right, don't get me wrong. But I get onto a one-on-one understanding for them to show them that I care about you. And the reason why I do that is so that when they buy in knowing that I have their best interest at heart. So I care about you. And I think this would work for you in this way. So instead of, for example, we implemented a lifting system. So instead of you carrying a 30-kilogram box and hurting your back, why don't you use this jack? It will help you. It will get easier. So for me, that's the approach I would take. I would start by trying to infiltrate and get into their heart, and then winning them over, and then showing them that I care about you and this system will improve your life in this way. It's worked for me most of the time. I'm not going to say it worked 100% of the time, but most of the time that approach worked for me.
Okay, so whoever asked that question, you need to work on the heart, but not manipulation. It goes down to understanding the person, what their frustrations are, what their challenges are, what they need, what's going to help them, and how that solution.
What's their fear? So usually people resist because of fear, and older people are scared because they think they'll lose their job. So it's trying to make sure that they're secure and getting them secure in trying new systems and helping you implement them and put them in place. And there's something, Tanya, let me add, Dr. Ian Barton, he gave a talk about two years ago. And there was something that he said that resonated and it stayed with me. I'm lying, it's a few years ago. And he said that as the younger generation, we come in with brilliant ideas. And those are good, that's good. But we need to take the opportunity to sit down with the older generation and tell them, especially when we're going to get resistance like, oh yes, but we've tried that, it didn't work. We need to sit with them and say, why didn't it work? Oh, did you try it like this? And we try and come up with solutions together. So that also has always been in the back of my mind when I deal with these situations. Thanks, Dr. Ian Barton. I've forgotten about that.
But that's a very important message, especially with the generational issues.
Yeah.
You know, the younger generation, the older generation don't necessarily talk on the same level. And that's where a lot of hiccups possibly come in the business, because the youngsters think that way, the older people are stuck in their ways. So it's a bit of a balancing act. I'm just going to field one more question for you. CPM or CSCP? Which one should I go for between the two?
CPIM, without a doubt, CPIM.
Okay, and so, but because that's the depth. So the CPIM is the depth of the operational, the nuts and bolts of it, whereas the CSCP is more the overarching strategic level.
And if you are just starting out, right? If you're just starting out, I would recommend CPIM. And if you are in, your middle management, your senior management, I would then recommend CSCP based on the level that you're in. So guys, if you need any more information, I am at BBOPEX, Bridge Building Operational Excellence Solutions. I'm a managing consultant there. I'm also just before we wrap up, before Tonya cuts me off, I'm also a certified transformation coach. And you can get as much information on our website, which would be www.bbopex.co.za. And I see you guys asking about mentors on the chat. Tonya, if you share my details with people that come to you directly, I wouldn't have an issue. And I just also want to mention one last time how important it is to get yourself a coach, to get yourself a mentor, because I wouldn't be here without having somebody who believed in me. And one of those people that believed in me is right there in the room. I don't know if she's still there, but oh, I see her. Glenda.
I am here and I am proud. Very proud.
Glenda has been inspirational for me, and especially as Black females, we hardly get the support to move up and to have other Black females that stand there with us. I think that is very great. And so well done, Glenda, as well for yourself, for being able to identify tremendous talent and taking the best out from it.
Yes, and I just want to say, I put in the chat that I think we're very blessed to have you at BPOPEX Solutions, Lerato. You are a trailblazer, you're like a thunderbolt, I always tell you. And I'm happy you shared your story with everyone. And I'm so glad you didn't listen to the naysayers about your personality and who you are, because that is doing wonders for us as an organization, but also those that meet you. So very inspiring, very, very proud. Young professionals want a mentor, I recommend Lerato. I am a mentor, I'm a coach as well, but I can tell you I am very, very, very proud. You did an awesome job, Lerato. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenda. Lerato, that was a really, really, really good session. And I'm going to say it again. You are an inspiration to not just young professionals, but anybody in supply chain management. Your mature approach, the way that you've thought it out, you've given it consideration, you've taken it and given it all you've got, you've set goals and you've achieved. And I think that everybody needs to look to a mentor for that guidance, because I think that's something that will help you to get over the obstacles that you sometimes come across in the working environment. So supply chain management is definitely a career of choice. If anybody's still asking that question, we are very privileged to have Lerato as part of our supply chain community or member community. As is Glenda. Glenda is our, we call her our membership poster lady, because they strongly believe in the power of SAPICS membership. and the value of being part of that community in terms of networking, growing, learning, and sharing experiences. I just want to wrap up and just mention, if anybody here is interested in doing a introduction to supply chain management, it's an international certification, certified supply chain analyst. SAPICS are running that online, facilitated next week. The details are on our website. I should also probably mention that Lerato is also doing CPIM online sessions at the moment, tutored session. So if any of you are busy with your CPIM or you're looking to do your CPIM, you can hook up with Lerato there, and she's going to get you ace through your CPIM. So we will publish this recorded version. We will publish Lerato's contact information for any follow-up questions. I really hope that you've enjoyed the session this afternoon as much as I have. And Lerato, good steed, carry on, and you just keep on winning.
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for listening to me and my story.
Thank you, Lerato. Really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.